So if you want to do the introduction, but my name is still Peggy Conway McMullen. Conway is my professional name. Peggy Conway, LLC. But I have a question for the producer of this art piece that we're doing, and that is, what is one of my favorite memories about you?
What is my
About my son, Robert
Oh,
Timothy McMullen. What is one of my favorite memories? Number one that came to mind is your father and I went to a very, very upscale, fancy event that was held at the country club years after he and I were married, at the country club in Pepper Pike, Ohio. And we were having a great old time, singing and dancing, and it was a great affair. And all of a sudden, one of the ushers, or the help, came up and said, "Are you missing a cute little blonde hair, blue-eyed young man, about the age of 5, who claims to belong to you?" And we found him in the station wagon. And your dad and I looked at each other and said, "That rascal." And your father said, "He takes right after you, Peggy." So and we did, and everybody, it was the head of the party. Everybody loved it. So that's a very fond memory. We had been moving, and we had a lot of boxes in the station wagon, and I think you were figuring you could hide in the boxes. Is that right?
I hid under the boxes.
Hid under the boxes.
I was a stowaway.
A stowaway. Okay. I have another one, and that is that your siblings and I, we had several horses and a pony, and we went riding at our farm in the hilly part, right by the barn. There's a big hill we go down, and we got off to get some water, look in the creek, and we got back on our horses. Your dad got back on the pony backwards.
That's the one I thought you were going to start with.
Yeah, and of course we were laughing, and so we took off, and he's flopping. He stayed on.
Oh, so you did that on purpose?
Yes, you never knew that.
No, I did not know that.
We laughed so hard.
I was terrified. Crying like a baby.
Oh, that we didn't see. We thought you were mad. Yeah. So all was well. I had to tell those two.
I like that.
Well, thank
And
you.
there are many, many more. I will say one more, that I went to I was very, very, I always felt very connected to Rob. And it was time to go to a reunion for my college in Chicago. So I asked Rob if he would like to go with me, and I think you were 10. And so anyhow, you went with me to the reunion, which my friends loved. This cute, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Irish laddie.
Careful.
Yeah. So that was a fond memory because we took you to all the hot spots in Chicago.
I remember being older because there was definitely a taste of beer.
Oh, well, see, in
It's first
Chicago,
sip.
you only had to be 18 to drink.
I don't
but
think
you weren't
A
18.
10-year-old was going to get it, but I might have been 11 or 12.
11 or 12. Yeah, it was, okay. Okay,
All right, it's time to start our questions.
so that just goes to show that we are not what you call a glum lot. It's not all about remembering sad moments, but there are many These kids were characters, all of us.
So then, going into that, what's one of the best things, the best and worst parts about being a mother?
The best and worst part about being
A mother.
a mother, wow. I think the worst part was giving birth. I want to tell you, no matter what they say, like you don't remember it, I remember every bit of it.
Uh-huh.
But I kept going back, kept doing it over and over and over again.
Kept dipping the well.
So really that was the hardest. The other hard part would be, there were times when I watched my children struggling with homework or sports, or maybe they weren't included in a certain group. And it pained me, but I knew that I couldn't interfere. I had to let them go through what they had to go through in order to learn things. So for me to learn to button my lip was very difficult. So the best part, the hardest part was having them, the best part was having them. Because all those 9 months and the pain of delivery were worth it. I have a lot of fun with my children. I do. I think that I was just talking to Nuri, we were talking about being grandparents. Kids and grandchildren are what keep us alive. They can keep us on our toes. They're a gift from God, and I enjoy my role as a mother and grandmama.
Should we go one on one?
That was a good question, Erin.
That was a very good question.
I did not introduce this segment. This is segment 2, interview with Peggy Conway, AKA Grandma Pucky, Grandma Nana, Wednesday, June 11th, 2025.
Yeah.
And let me look, there's a lot of good questions we have prepared here. Is there something you're proud of yourself for?
Oh. Well, I'm very proud of winning a scholarship for my for classical piano at a very prestigious college, and that I was rewarded for. I practiced piano very hard from the time I was about 5, and so I was very proud of that. And what spurred me on to keep practicing was my mother, who died when I was 10. My mother loved my playing the piano. So that kept her alive in me, was to keep playing the piano. And occasionally I play today also. The other is, boy, that is a good question. But the scholarship certainly was one. It's nice to be rewarded, you know, to be able to see the benefit of things that you've done. And I also won many prizes at horse shows for many years. And the question again, the proudest I am of. Can I have the question again?
You want another question? Or
No,
the same
no,
question?
repeat the question.
Is there anything that you're proud of?
Yeah, so those, and I'm proud of my children and grandchildren. In that I feel that they are wonderful human beings, and that they are very kind to others. That's probably the biggest compliment that someone can give another, is to be kind to them.
Okay.
What are some hard life lessons you had to learn?
Hard-held lessons. Wow. Well, growing older. Those I think have been the hard lessons. Because I really haven't had a hard time with school or making friends. But the hard lesson is to go by the beach and watch people playing volleyball, beach volleyball. And right away, I hear this voice saying, you can't do that anymore. My body is not able to perform the way that it used to. So that's difficult. I hadn't realized that was going to happen.
Yeah. And then how do you think you've changed over the years growing older?
Oh, I thought about that recently. Actually, I had an illness, or I had to have an operation, and I was told that I had to remain very quiet for 6 weeks, which caused many a friend and family laughter because I'm not noted for not doing things. What I learned was how I've changed in that I like being quiet. I like being alone at times. That's a big change. I like resting in between doing activities. I like simply taking the time to pray and meditate. Now, this is something I've done through the years, but I really realized that's what I like to do, that I should do what I like to do more often. So those are lessons.
Right.
I don't have to be as busy as I used to.
It's true. And then what has your faith and your religious, spiritual journey have been like with your meditation?
Okay. Well, my faith has kept me alive, truly, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And I knew and experienced my mother and father lived their religion. My mother was a convert to the Catholic Church, and she just adored, she used the word, the not the simplicity, but how Catholic Church taught love, kindness, gentleness, take care of the less fortunate, and I believe that if I have more than I need, I believe in giving it away. There was something I wanted to say. Hold on for a minute. Somehow, watching them with their friends, and they all were very deep, they had very deep friendships, and they were so loving and kind. And they all had this practice of, on Sunday morning, rounding up their kids in the different groups of families and going to church. And we had a ritual, which was we celebrated going to church by going to the ice cream store after and having a hot fudge sundae. So that was that, in other words, it doesn't have to be, I gotta go to church again and blah, blah. Well, we get to go to church and we get to go get ice cream after. Yeah. And that's the way I look at my faith and my religion, is that I get to practice, and there's always a reward. It may not be ice cream all the time, but
Yeah, simple.
good question.
What are some things that make you feel nostalgic?
Nostalgic. So what is, okay, you asked the word nostalgic, that's a good one. Do you have any clue? Can you help me with that word? What would
Nostalgic?
what would be something you'd think about that was nostalgic?
When I eat Superman ice cream.
Yeah.
Because I only eat that in Sugar and Falls.
Sugar and Falls. Oh, God, that's a great example. Well, actually, I'll build on that one because just the other day before I came here, they're repairing the bridge so that everything was closed off except the ice cream store, the popcorn store. They made a little alleyway so you could still go in and get the Superman ice cream. So when I go by, which I do often, it's a memory of you kids, especially when you first went to the popcorn store. You're first in Chagrin, which is such an adorable town. And you were so excited, and that's nostalgic. The memory of something fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Let me think of another one that I have to come up with.
All right.
You want to touch that for a minute?
Pause it.
So, going out to the Conway farm in Peninsula, Ohio. Often I go out with Mark. In fact, we try to go out there once a month, and to visit my brother Neil. And at the farm, we have so many memories, I do, of growing up and spending the summers at the farm and raising the horses and growing hay and oats, wheat, corn for the horses and for us, and chickens. So the nostalgia is that it's like instant memory of childhood. It's right there. And that to me is what nostalgia is. The remembrance of happy times, some could be very sad times, but it's remembering. It's still in me. Everything that I have experienced is still in me, but sometimes I have to take myself to a place where things happened. Okay? Good questions.
Thank you. Dad, you got one?
Oh, there's a lot of things on my list here to talk to you about and listen to you about. I wanted to hear more about what you remember about your parents' relationship and how did your understanding of their relationship influence your own romantic partnerships?
Okay, so my father was so devoted to his mother. Now, I never knew his mother. I may have met her, but I was very, very young when she died, but he talked about her so much. And I would ask him, what is it, because I really didn't know, what was it about her that stands out so much to you? And he said, imagine this. My mother was married to a man who was very active in the Irish Rebellion. She was supportive of him doing this. This is in Ireland. Because her people were being destroyed by the English. His father said to his mother, we need to take the children to the United States. This war in Ireland's going to go on for a long time. Well, he said, I can't go, but you can. So she took 7 children by herself on a boat to Ellis Island here in New York. The ship was turned away. They were sent them up to Montreal or Quebec because they said, we have too many Irish. We can't take it anymore. But Canada said they would. So they went to Canada, and then from Canada, they had plenty of people from Ireland, County Mayo, back in Cleveland, Ohio. So my mother took the 7 children and went to Cleveland to be with the other
Irish.
Irish. Now he hadn't been born yet, but he could not, he just said this, he kept saying, can you imagine doing that? And then he was born as the 8th child. And the favored child, one might say.
Youngest is always
This
the
was
best.
Timothy, Robert Timothy.
No, I'm Robert Timothy. He was Timothy.
He was Timothy Joseph Conway,
Timothy J.
Senior.
Conway, yeah.
Yeah. So that, and my father also admired his mother, his wife's mother. And I would ask him, well, you know, they're so different. What is it? And he said, Grandma Annie is a hoot. Kind of an Irish. She was funny. She was very silly. She didn't care what people thought. She wasn't a fancy dresser. She could make you laugh just by, she would say anything that came to mind. But she also would take off and just take a trip to Florida all by herself and not tell anybody where she was. And my father said, now Annie, I know you can't stand the winters and your kids are grown so you don't have to stick around. But please, would you go to one place if I buy it for you? If I buy your little cottage, would you promise me that you will stay there so you'll be safe? And she said, hey, it worked. Her being rambunctious like that, rambunctious and unsafe, he got the word. And so I've been told I take after her.
Yeah.
I resemble.
And so to rephrase the question, or return to the question of what you remember of your parents' relationship, and how had your memory of their relationship influenced your own romantic relationships?
So the other is that how devoted they were to each other, and supportive, and it was a united front. They did not make a decision if the two of them could be together. And they didn't have cell phones and all that, so it was not, father ran the roof or the roost or mom runs the house. It was both of them. And that's the way I feel it should be. Two people doing the best they can when there are two people together. I don't know if that answers it.
That's good.
Oh, but I will say one thing. Occasionally they fought, and I had the bedroom next to theirs, and I remember as a little kid jumping in between them and saying, don't you dare yell at each other. And that would kind of shock them. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, you see that we're digging deeper.
Yeah, yeah.
Deep into the soul. Let's see.
Go ahead, Erin. You got something else?
Let me see. What's your favorite piece of literature? The one that impacted your life, you probably say.
Oh, my
If you
favorite.
read like that.
I'd love to see something clever like Dostoevsky. I can't even say his name, but Dostoevsky. Dostoevsky, if I could say it. But I used to read 3 books at a time, and one would be about a horse, and another would be about nature, and another would be about romance.
Nice.
So trying to pick, of all I think King of the Wind, which is, what is her name? Henrietta. I'll come up with it. It's a famous book about an Arabian horse. Do you remember, Rob? I'm sure you've read it. King of the Wind.
Doesn't ring a bell, but that's a good.
Lawrence
I'm
of
sure if you
Arabia.
remember that.
Yeah, Lawrence of Arabia.
And that's another one?
Yep. Later on, Anne of the Seven Gables. It's
Margaret Henry.
Margaret Henry, yeah. Margaret Henry. So, And then there's a story in Nova Scotia, Anne of the Green Gables. I can't think of the name of it. It's a wonderful story of a young woman. We can look that up.
Nice.
And recently, and I maybe it's been the last 10 years, Handmaid's Tale. And that
I know you
is
really like that show, yeah. In the book.
Atwood.
Margaret Atwood.
Margaret Atwood. Very current.
Mm-hmm.
But I read a lot. In fact, as the youngest child and as the boys were moving on to college and all, I had a lot of quiet time.
Mm-hmm.
Probably saved me. I used to read about all kinds of athletes.
What have you learned from the
Dedication, determination, dedication, did I say that? Dedication, determination, discipline, and teamwork, belief in yourself. I learned a lot by reading about people who actually acted and took active part in what I like to do.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think that you came upon your career choice? Did you always know that you wanted to be
Well,
helping
I
people?
actually took a lot of tests. There were a group of us in grade school, they called us brainiacs. Brainiacs. And so, and nowadays I guess you'd call us nerds, but so coming up with a career choice, every test I ever took, they would say good with people. Well, what does that tell you? She's good with people. So if you, another thing that came up with was good with helping people. So actually, how did I get into psychology, social work, social sciences? Seemed to me that Margaret Mead was my biggest influence. Are you familiar with Margaret Mead?
I am not.
As an anthropologist, she worked in Pango or one of those. She worked with the native. She studied native peoples, and developed techniques to help people get out of poverty and stuff like that. But look her up, Margaret Mead. She's pretty. So from that, I got into, you get into one thing in school, and it leads to another, and to another, and to another.
It's true.
But truly, I realized it was a job that I could always work. You don't cut off at 65 when you're, how do you say that? The job of being a therapist can go on forever.
That's true. So what are
You
what
should
are your favorite memories with me?
Ah, oh my God, there are so many. I can still see this picture. I have it with you and I holding you at your country club, and it was a Christmas celebration.
Oh, a Christmas party. Yeah.
It was a Christmas party, and so your birthday is May.
Yeah.
You were younger. This may have been close to your birthday.
And Christmas?
No, not Christmas. This particular picture. Another memory I had was, it seemed like when I would come here and we'd go out to play, there was not a tree that you didn't climb, and I can relate to that, and I loved that. Horseback riding, out at the farm, you were just natural.
Did you find a way to ride a horse out at our farm, or are you thinking of other locations?
You came out to the farm one time, but I wonder if that was, remember when we went to Alice's?
Yeah.
But that's right, we got you on the horse, but you didn't ride the horse alone. She was too young.
Yeah, I remember riding my first horse. It was in a
An-
barn.
Another memory was,
That was Allison's practice stable, and she then learned, she did some riding on ponies up in Davie.
I remember that.
yes,
She took you to that riding establishment in Davie. Mother, we took you there as well with your grandchildren. Then she rode her first horse in Shenandoah when we took a
Oh, I
vacation
remember that.
in Western Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ride horses in Hocking Hills?
yes.
Yes.
So I was just gonna get to this memory. So we were in Hocking Hills, the two of us together, which was, and talk about nostalgic. That was so fun, just to be with you alone, have you to myself, and sit in the hot tub for hours and hours and
Sat
talking.
in a hot tub.
But it was also a stable for these very fine horses that the huntsman would come and they would use them and go out and hunt for deer.
You told me, that's why I prompted that.
Oh, good. And we went and we would feed the horses. They had something like 20 horses there. There were a lot of horses.
We would just go and like pet them.
We would pet them and talk to them, and it was a great time. Then we rode them, and there was at one ranch, it was all Appaloosa.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. So these were big guys. So we went on this ride, and darned if we were on about 5 minutes, and the rain the skies opened up. And we're going up and down hills, and you were way in the front, as I recall, with your horse.
I remember.
Well, I was in the back taking
My
pictures.
horse did not like me very much.
Oh,
Well, not like me, but like did try to bite me.
yeah, you'd think he tried to bite you.
Yeah, he tried to bite me. I was like, oh.
I don't know why
Every
they do
horse,
that.
Yeah.
But that was a wonderful memory. I mean, there really are so many. Then, one time I was here, and your parents asked me to take you to a volleyball lesson, and this is in the beginnings of your volleyball career. And it was in this little teeny place, past 93rd. No,
Yeah.
it's somewhere near maybe where you're.
Was I in 5th grade or was that older?
This was when you first started serious.
Oh, okay, so this is. Oh no, so freshman year or like 8th grade.
You went there. You had a private lesson with this.
Oh, that was 8th grade year. Yeah.
Okay, and this woman was her little kid was there who was also a year behind you, I think, or two.
Oh, she's pretty young. She's in like 6th grade.
Oh, okay. So that's a lot younger. You're right. And this kid said, "Ooh, she's good," about Erin. And this woman did she become a coach of yours?
She was my first coach ever.
Okay. She
My
said,
first good
"Oh, I wish I'd had Erin a couple of months ago because she was making a team up and she had the team, but she wanted to stay connected." And she said, "Erin's got it." And I said, "You bet." I mean, to hear that as a grandma is so great. You were amazing just to see you catch on fire.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good memory, that I did not remember you were there in that those
Anna
first
still talks
private
about it,
lessons with
yeah.
Coach Anna, and in that
Anna.
little warehouse, off of 79th Avenue, here in Durrell.
Yeah.
And then she led to being Erin's junior varsity coach in high school.
Oh.
The next year, and it was really an opportunity for her to get into her sister's school, Durrell Academy, where she ended up making varsity and being a starter and then being captain.
Captain,
Mhm.
I never did congratulate you.
Thank you. Yeah. Nice. But yeah.
So speaking of horses, and I'll do this with Miranda and Nicole. Miranda is an amazing, she's just one of these that rode, I had her riding at 1.5 years, and she could ride at 1.5 years. Just a natural. These things happen. So that's to go talk about family history. My grandma Annie, her grandma Annie's husband Nelson was a colonel in the Civil War, and he ran a battalion of horsemen. Are you taping this?
Yes, I did not pause it.
Okay, because and my mother always rode because of that, and she always had a horse. They always figured out how to make sure every family member learned how to ride. So that started way back at the Civil War with horses.
Civil War, wasn't that like
You need to
No,
read about
that
that
was
Civil
18.
War.
17.
Do you know the dates?
1879.
Good for you.
Is that right?
Earlier,
Oh, 1869. 1879.
Good for you.
a little earlier than 69.
What? 1865.
60 to 65.
You know what? It's okay. All right. We feeling good?
So my mother had a horse by the name of Ichabel.
Oh, yes, you told me about it.
Yes. So my earliest memory was climbing up Ichabel's leg when I was crawling.
Oh,
And I don't know how much I remember that, or people were shocked, scared when they saw it. But I was taken on horseback rides at about 1.5. So, pause time.
you can show this.
I can, yes. Well, I need you to send that to me, because I don't think I have it.
You don't think you have it, but I've probably sent that to you. And you took
I'm
it.
sure you did.
Aaron, did that show up on the film? I wanted her to hold it up.
This
so we
is
could
in
see the
Medina.
film.
Go again?
This is in Medina, Ohio.
Yeah.
Get the bell.
Is that showing up?
Yes. that's
Okay,
good.
you sure, is that good?
Yes.
So this is a photograph in Medina, Ohio, which is a little bit bigger than Chagrin Falls, but it's another one of these typical classic Ohio towns that is full of artisans. And this is our family reunion. There are many more family members, but these are kids and grandkids all together. So that's good.
Yes, so that is your son's standing there with you, Jim on your left, I'm on your right, Mark is to my right, and then your daughter Megan is in the center on the seated row, with her daughters to her right and left on the outside, Miranda to her left, Nicole to her right, and then Shannon on her left, her niece, your granddaughter Shannon, and Megan's niece Caitlin on her right, and then Erin is kneeling down in front. We don't have Judy in the picture because she was taking the picture.
Oh, I was wondering about that.
We were in the town square, and she was in the gazebo.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's
I think
right,
I
that's
remember
right.
that.
So let me put this down.
That's fine, just set it down.
Oh, okay. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was getting family together like this, which is not easy. But one time, many times, when we were at the farm in the summertime, because when it was, school was out, we didn't have camps so much back then. But believe me, Conway Farm became a camp for many friends, many kids. So we would go to movies on Saturday night. You took a shower once a week on Saturday. Then you went to town, the little town, to the movies, and then to the ice cream store. And how did we get to town with 13 kids and one icing his elbow? We all got into our truck. We had a big hay truck. I don't know how else to explain it, but when there's no hay in the truck, it's got sides.
Yeah.
And you can fit about.
I've been in one of those.
Okay, so you can fit about 30 people in. So a lot of times, friends from Shaker Heights would come and visit us and then they would come with us in the truck. This was the funnest thing for our friends to do. And they didn't have to take a shower, but we did. So we would go into town, and then the next morning we would all pile in all the cars to go to church, because you don't go to church in a hay truck.
Sure.
Well, that's a fun. We did a lot of fun gathering together, going to the farm from Shaker out to Peninsula. Often took 3 cars.
Yeah.
And occasionally we all would be back when we came back to Cleveland. I say that because there were occasionally people were forgotten. We lost track. Jerry was always wandering and we lost him more often, Bill will say. And then as far as nieces, this is interesting that I have a couple of cousins. 3, period. Huge family. My mother's brothers did not have children. My father's brothers and sisters did not have children. Not that they didn't try, they just didn't have them. So evidently that's why my mother and father had 15 kids.
15.
13.
Oh,
But
I missed 2.
who are those other 2?
I didn't know.
They're the ones we hid.
Yeah.
I don't think I have the family portraits of you with all your brothers and your sister and your sisters-in-laws, but we'll have to get that picture so you can hold it up and
Right here.
talk about that. Oh, it's in the book?
Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm glad I brought it up if you can find it. I'll pause it. You found it, that's good.
Nice. On your baby. Your
So
babe.
the top photo, and it's got the names are all printed there. And then the middle folder down, the middle picture is your brother Bill and his wife at Yale Derby Day in 1948.
Yep.
And then bottom was down dining with Mary in 1949. So that would have been, was that
That was right after they were married.
after they were married? Let's say, was that courtship or? I have yet to read his memoir, so I will.
No, I'm gonna have to send it to you. I will show you another picture. If it should be right handy.
Now,
So the pictures show my sister Mary, the eldest, and then the 11 brothers, and then little Peggy. So that's the family. Those are pictures of when we were young. Bill could not find me as a youngster in a picture.
So she got an older one, the oldest.
Yeah, that was my high school graduation.
well, he also
Great.
has your brother Neil, about the same era,
That's right.
so you're not singled out.
Yeah, true that.
Mary, Dan, Bob, Jack, Tim. At any rate, are we on? We're not on.
We're on.
We're still on. So I love your questions and I've gained a lot of information, Erin, about my mother, especially, from their friends. My mother and father's friends loved to talk to me about my parents. They had a wonderful group of friends, and they did a lot with the kids together. We would all be together. But I didn't, they said, you know, you didn't really get to know your mother, you know, in 10 years, but they filled me in. And that what a team my mother and father were. And that was fun to hear. Now, so one of the things they taught me was how important it is to have friends. I mean, I knew that, but they said, it's wonderful to have family and you must have friends. There are certain things that you can do that you develop through friendships that is separate from family. So those two things did, and then they said, with all of our family and all of our friends, they said, of course, one of the best ways of developing your own person is through sports and teamwork. Gives you something to talk about, keeps you out of trouble, most of the time.
Do you have any advice on keeping long-term friends?
Oh my gosh, because I'm good at that.
Yeah, you are.
I mean, I've been gifted maybe just to have friends that. It seems to me our friendships were such that we opened up. We spoke through our heart. We weren't afraid. I did not tell my family about things that bothered me. Remember, I was telling you this, for whatever reason. But if I felt close to friends, especially that lived around me, I lived in a neighborhood where we all knew each other. So to keep a friend, you have to be a friend. And to be a friend, you have to be a friend to yourself. I sound like a preacher, but you really have to know yourself, be kind to yourself, and then be kind to your friends. And you're not always going to want to go around with everybody. So it's about being, I was going to say discreet, but it's
Selective?
I'm trying to think of well, you want to go around with people that mirror your quality of life, your beliefs,
Yeah.
that you trust. And but we would contact each other. We only had those big old phones, and we didn't have cell phones. But we could write letters because we all went off to college and in different parts of the country. And we would come back at holidays and make sure that we, kept touch. And we did call each other from school every once in a while. So contact, communication is important.
Sure. All right.
And your friends, your early childhood friends are the people that know you the very, very best. Most likely. They see you struggle through whatever they watched you through your volleyball career. That kind of thing. I think that's good.
I like that.
Oh, the other is, if you haven't seen a person for a while, let's say you're growing up and you haven't seen them at school or you haven't seen them at camp, or call them and say, hey, I noticed that you weren't here.
Yeah.
To do that, you reach out to someone. So maybe they just played hooky that day, but more than likely they were sick or they couldn't get a ride. So that's developing, keeping that relationship alive.
Yeah. All right. That sounds good.
An example is I met a woman at your country club. I had seen her on other years, and we would nod and say hello, and we would talk in the hot tub. But she worked a very heavy schedule. This year, she only worked part-time. So we've been meeting each other. And one of the things she said was, when you say you'll be there, you're there. And I'm like, well, of course. And she said, Peggy, everybody doesn't do that. Not everybody does that. So that's part of being a friend. This is a new friend. But she wrote and said, I'll be at the pool. Could you meet me at the pool today, 2 to 4?
Yeah.
And she said, I knew you'd be there. She hasn't known me that long, but that's a kind of you're that way.
Yeah.
You're accountable.
Yeah.
You know.
Kind of responsible.
And if you can't make it, make a phone call. Say, I'm sorry, I can't make it. Good question, because these are key to be able to keep long-term friends. Yeah.
Come over, give her a hug and a kiss. Great job.
Mwah. Thank you, honey. You two are great interviewers. Come here, baby doll.
Hello.
Yeah. Group hug. We have some, I'm sure you have some questions or even more probing. I have a couple of things that, they're not shocking, but they're kind of fun, impish things as a kid does. We'll get into that later.
In session 3.
Yes.
Bye-bye.